Welcome to the Biblical Perspectives for Leadership podcast, where timeless biblical truths meet modern leadership. We are thrilled to have you join us on this journey of exploring how biblical principles can guide us in leading with wisdom, integrity, and purpose. Whether you're leading in the church, your workplace, or your community, this podcast is designed to inspire, challenge, and equip you for the road ahead. Let's dive into today's conversation and discover how Scripture shapes the way we lead.
Welcome back to Biblical Perspectives for Leadership. Today we're diving deep into some foundational stories from the material you've shared, stories that offer, well, really profound insights into leadership principles and how they play out in everyday life.
Absolutely. We're drawing our wisdom today from a truly compelling narrative, the opening of the book of Exodus. This story vividly illustrates how different types of leadership emerge and clash.
Right.
And what it really means for favor to feel like a fight. It's a powerful exploration of how blessings can sometimes become the very catalyst for intense opposition.
Exactly. Our mission today is to unpack those dynamics, power, fear, moral courage, as we see them in this ancient narrative. And you'll find insights, I think, that resonate deeply with challenges and opportunities in leadership. Whether you're navigating a team, a family, or just your own life's journey, we're focusing specifically on Exodus chapter 1. So let's jump right in. To begin, let's maybe set the scene with the opening verses of Exodus chapter 1. That's verse 1 through verse 7. This part of the material reminds us of Jacob's descendants, who initially came to Egypt as, a small family unit.
Just 70 people.
70 direct descendants, right?
Right.
And we see how Joseph and his entire generation eventually pass away. It feels like a quiet transition, a shift in generations. But what happens next is, well, anything but quiet.
Yeah, what's truly fascinating here, if we look at the trajectory described in those verses, is the rapid multiplication and prosperity of the Israelites. The story tells us they became exceedingly fruitful, prolific, increasing greatly in number.
To the point they filled the land.
Exactly, They filled the land. And this isn't just some, historical footnote. It's a direct fulfillment of a foundational promise made much earlier to Abraham. It's in Genesis chapter 17, verse 6,
right,
where God promised he would be made exceedingly fruitful. So this underlying divine promise of growth and prosperity, it's crucial context. It sets the stage for everything that follows, highlighting an inherent strength that kind of pre-exists any conflict.
And here's where it gets truly pivotal, I think. In Exodus chapter 1, verse 8, the material states that a new king came to power in Egypt. And crucially, it says he did not know Joseph. Now, this isn't just a simple change of monarch. It feels like a complete reset, doesn't it? Like the political and historical landscape just shifted entirely.
It really does.
It begs the question,
Yeah.
Was this genuine ignorance of history or maybe a deliberate decision to erase Joseph's legacy and the favor his family once held? What does this mean for leadership when a new regime just sort of discards the past?
That's a critical distinction to make, isn't it?
Yeah.
It raises this important question about the longevity of favor and, perhaps more pointedly, the deliberate act of historical erasure in leadership. The previous favor granted to Joseph's family, the very reason they were in Egypt and prospering, is either genuinely forgotten or, perhaps more likely, intentionally ignored, suppressed even.
Right.
And if we connect this to the broader picture, this new Pharaoh, as described in Exodus chapter 1, verse 9 and verse 10, well, he perceives the Israelites not just as numerous, but as too numerous, too powerful.
A threat.
A perceived threat, exactly. His fear escalates rapidly into a plot to oppress them. He's worried they might join Egypt's enemies and, leave the country.
Yeah.
This vividly illustrates what we might call the tyranny of the anxious leader. It's a dangerous leadership trap.
Yeah.
Where insecurity just rapidly erodes ethical boundaries. A perceived threat, even if it's unfounded, can lead to state-sanctioned dehumanization and policies that are not just unjust, but severely oppressive. It's a stark cautionary tale about how fear can warp judgment and lead to devastating outcomes.
So with Pharaoh's fear now firmly established, the story takes a darker turn. We then see the practical outworking of his fear, starting in Exodus chapter 1, verse 11. The oppression truly begins. Pharaoh appoints taskmasters, forcing the Israelites into hard labor, building these massive store cities like Pithom and Ramesses. It's a calculated strategy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Designed to control and diminish this perceived threat.
Absolutely. It's a brutal, deliberate strategy of subjugation. But what's truly fascinating here, and really quite counterintuitive, is the result described just one verse later in Exodus chapter 1, verse 12.
Okay, what happens?
The material tells us the more they were oppressed, the more they multiplied and spread.
Wow. The exact opposite of what he wanted.
The exact opposite. His strategy to diminish them only seemed to make them stronger, more numerous. It suggests this powerful, unseen force at work, a principle we could maybe call the paradox of resistance.
Interesting.
Even under the harshest conditions, there was this underlying current of growth and resilience that, human power couldn't fully suppress. It really challenges the conventional wisdom that power resides solely with the oppressor.
And the oppression wasn't just about constructing cities, was it? Exodus chapter 1, verse 13 to verse 14, they really hammer home the ruthless nature of their work.
Oh, absolutely.
Harsh labor in brick and mortar and in the fields. It sounds relentless, spirit-crushing work designed to strip them of their identity, their vitality.
Cool.
How does this connect to leadership challenges maybe in our everyday lives? We might not face literal taskmasters, but we can experience that kind of overwhelming, grinding pressure.
That's a great connection. It reveals such a profound contrast in leadership approaches. Pharaoh's leadership is all about control, fear, escalating ruthlessness, a classic example of oppressive power dynamics. For the Israelites, it's about endurance. It's about enduring under immense, dehumanizing pressure, somehow maintaining their core identity and vitality when everything is designed to strip it away. This narrative shows us that even in the face of brutal oppression, there can be an unseen force at work.
Fostering growth
And resilience in the very people being suppressed, exactly. It's a powerful lesson in fortitude for anyone facing an uphill battle, It demonstrates that true strength isn't always in the hand of the oppressor, but often in the resilience of the oppressed.
But Pharaoh's initial strategies, the forced labor, they weren't having the desired effect. So his frustration, as we discover in Exodus chapter 1, verse 15, led him to an even more sinister plan.
It escalates.
It really does. He introduces a secret, chilling command. He calls the Hebrew midwives, Shifra and Puah, and commands them, this is Exodus chapter 1, verse 16, to kill all male Hebrew babies at birth. Let the girls live, kill the boys. This is just an extreme, horrifying escalation, an attempt at quiet, systemic genocide.
It's chilling, and it raises such an important question for any leader, or really any individual. What do you do when a leader's command directly contradicts your moral compass, your ethical standard?
Yeah.
Exodus chapter 1, verse 17 gives us the midwives' powerful response. The midwives feared God and did not do as the king of Egypt commanded them, but let the male children live.
Wow.
This is a profound act of civil disobedience. It's moral leadership under extreme pressure. They prioritize a higher authority, God, over the king's decree, showing immense courage in the face of, mortal danger. This is maybe the paradox of moral power.
Explain that.
Well, by choosing a higher moral authority over the king's brute force, they didn't just survive. They inadvertently triggered a protective response. It proves that integrity, not just strength, can actually alter the trajectory of oppression.
And of course, Pharaoh, sensing his secret plan isn't working out, confronts them. That's in Exodus chapter 1, verse 18. He asks, "Why have you done this?" And in Exodus chapter 1, verse 19, the midwives respond with this a really clever and courageous answer. They claim the Hebrew women are just too vigorous. They give birth before the midwives can even get there.
Right. It's quick thinking.
It is. It's a quick-witted response designed to deflect suspicion, protect themselves, all while subtly maintaining their defiance against the king. It shows remarkable presence of mind under that kind of pressure.
Absolutely. And what's truly fascinating here is the outcome detailed in Exodus chapter 1, verse 20 and verse 21.
Yeah.
Because the midwives feared God, the text says, he dealt well with them.
Okay.
And the people continued to increase. Furthermore, the material says God gave the midwives families of their own. So it shows us that integrity and moral courage, even facing grave danger, are not only valued, but can be, divinely rewarded. It underscores a key leadership principle. True strength often lies in moral conviction, not brute force or the raw exercise of power.
That's powerful.
And this applies to everyday life, doesn't it? Standing up for what's right, even in seemingly small ways, can have a significant and lasting impact, not just for you, but for those you influence, for the broader community.
So after this setback with the midwives, what does this all mean for Pharaoh's leadership strategy? Does he give up?
Not at all. He doubles down.
In Exodus chapter 1, verse 22, Pharaoh takes his oppression public. He issues this chilling decree to all his people. Every Hebrew boy that is born you must throw into the Nile, but let every girl live.
Yeah.
This is a terrifying escalation, isn't it? From secret infanticide, attempted through midwives, to state-sponsored public infanticide. It involves the entire population now. He's removed all pretense of secrecy, making it a widespread public terror. What does it signify when a leader takes their oppression from the shadows into the full light of day like that?
It reveals the depths of Pharaoh's fear and desperation, I think, and it signifies a complete surrender to tyranny. When a leader's paranoia reaches this level, they often no longer care about public perception or even moral pretense.
They're just committed to control.
Fully committed to absolute control, exactly. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, Pharaoh's escalating tyranny, driven by this fear and desire for absolute control, ultimately serves to highlight the unwavering resilience of the Israelite people.
And the courage of the midwives.
And the profound moral courage of individuals like the midwives, yes. This final act of desperation by Pharaoh makes survival itself an act of defiance for the Israelite community. It makes that idea of favor feeling like a fight even more palpable.
Their very existence is the battleground now.
Precisely. So this story, then, it isn't just ancient history. It's a powerful study in contrasting leadership styles. One driven by fear and control, leading only to greater oppression.
And the other
driven by faith and moral conviction, leading to unexpected favor and, frankly, astonishing growth right in the face of adversity. It reminds us that even when you're battling overwhelming odds, there seems to be a deeper force at play that can protect and multiply, even under the most dire circumstances.
This deep dive into your material from Exodus chapter 1 reveals truly profound lessons, I think, for anyone in a leadership position or even just navigating the complexities of their own life. You've seen leadership defined by fear, leading to this escalating oppression and tyranny, contrasted with leadership defined by moral courage and a higher conviction, leading to unexpected favor and astonishing resilience. It also highlights that incredible power of perseverance in everyday life when you're faced with seemingly overwhelming odds. The story shows us that even when things seem designed to break you, there could be an underlying strength and maybe even a pathway to growth.
Yeah, and that raises an important question for you, the listener, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When faced with difficult leadership decisions or maybe challenges in your own life where things just feel like an uphill battle, how do these principles of courage, conviction, and even perhaps divine providence shape your perspective?
Right.
Do you find yourself leaning into fear and control, perhaps, or into a deeper sense of what is right, even when it's clearly the harder path?
That's a great question. And here's something else for you to mull over. In what situations might standing firm on a moral principle, even when you're facing prevailing pressure from authority or just difficult circumstances?
Yeah.
How might that lead to an unexpected, maybe even a favorable outcome? We've seen in this story that sometimes the most profound victories aren't found in overcoming external forces directly,
Right.
but maybe in maintaining that internal integrity, that unwavering resolve. Something to think about.
Thank you for joining us on the Biblical Perspectives for Leadership podcast. I hope today's insights have encouraged and equipped you to lead with faith, wisdom, and purpose. Remember, the greatest leader of all time taught us that true leadership is about serving others. If you enjoyed this episode and podcast, be sure to subscribe, share it with others, and leave a review. It helps us reach more people with these transformative truths. Until next time, keep leading with grace and walking in purpose.